Harp. I just met him, believe it or not, for the first time yesterday face to face. But what was great about it is the moment I met him, I was like, here's a person that I want to be a lifetime friend. A heart and passion to witness and share God's word to anyone and everyone he meets. And he has a wonderful story, and we have a little introduction video that we're going to show you on this, which I'll probably have to get back there because I just remembered I didn't show Amanda how to do that part. But you're going to see some of the stuff that he has done, and you're going to hear some of the. Oh, Emily's back there. She's like, I got this. Okay. So we'll see what happens. I think you just click on the picture and it might play. You know, I have to mouse over to it. Well, Donna, you were supposed to be entertaining everyone. Oh, just technical difficulties as always, like a normal church, right?
Do one more. Yeah. Hey, I'm Drew Sison. You're watching Nick Harp's God's Country TV. But let me let you know a little secret. It's really Amanda Harp's God's Country TV. She really owns the show, runs the show. She takes all the shots, and they do cutaways. Nick is the one doing the shot. Just wanted you to make sure you understand that. And women rule the nest when it comes to God's Country TV.
And we'll air that.
Just reach out to the guys going to TV. We'll figure out the good all that way. Boom, baby! Ugly 34. As you can see, we got us another giant, so. Guys, right there, right there, right there.
Giant bought a week ago. I'm kicking myself ever since. Nick, you can tell the giant. I got something. Look at it.
Oh, well, how's everyone doing tonight? Or this afternoon, I should say. So, that video gets me so fired up every time I see it, and I've had that video going on for quite a few years now. But it's amazing the editors I had to be able to make it look like I made that shot after Amanda did all the work, you know, to make it look like I'm getting all these big bucks. So, but no, seriously, hunting and fishing has always been a passion of mine since I was a little kid. And I've tried to instill that into all my children as well. Here's some pictures right here of my kids when they were much younger. The passion I tried to instill in them as they were growing up. And that's Dalton and Averill. It's hard to believe they're right there now. They're a lot bigger. But every time we harvested one of the animals out there, it just was a family time. And we actually got probably quite a few Christmas cards that we've sent out with a family picture of us with big bucks and deer. And so that passion developed into shooting archery countries. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Turn that down, sorry. And so I started from turkey hunting and whitetail hunting and been blessed in the outdoor industry for a lot of years. Developed a passion of mine to kind of have a lifestyle choice of it. How many people watch Realtree monster bucks? You ever watch those? Got a couple Realtree fans in here, Bone Collector and everything. See, I grew up watching those, and I also grew up watching Fred Bear and Ted Nugent and all those, and it gave me a little bit of a passion to see if I could do that for myself. Realtree has been very gracious to me, and so I kind of like to start off the night with getting a little exercise after eating too much of that great food that y'all cooked. So, can anybody catch? Because I'm going to throw some hats out. And so, all right. I'm not very good at Frisbee, but we're going to try. So, whoa. This is all pretty good. There's one. Woo! There we go. Right there. Here, I'll throw another one. There you go. Got 3 more. You're welcome. That one got close a little bit. One more. See how far we can go. All right. I don't know. Maybe these will fly a little bit better. I got some koozies too. So. Hey, that's not bad, though. We'll try that again. And one more. Oh, whoever goes to the alley to get it. There. Now I wore off a little bit of that food. I ate way too much, but I had to get some energy going on. So, so a little bit about me. I'm the pastor for the Archery Shooters Association. So how many of y'all know what that is? ASA. Any 3D tournament shooters? I see a few back there. Emily definitely knows. Christopher knows. So, and that's why I'm here tonight, because me and Christopher met many years ago when I was able to take over that ministry. And so I shoot professionally for Matthews. So what that means is I spend a lot of money every tournament I go to and pay big entry fees to try and win some money, which, man, you know, professional archer is not something you want to do if you want to make a lot of money for a living. I just say that. But here's a couple pictures of my daughter and my son with their first deer. Very, very special times. You know, my dad, he had me out there hunting since I was 5 years old. I was walking along with him, from shooting squirrels and rabbits to pheasants, and it gave me this passion for deer hunting. So there's my youngest son, Jacob. Last year he harvested his first doe. Should have been the year before, but I forgot to put a shell on the gun. He won't let me live that down, but I made it up to him. And he was able to get his first deer this past season. And there's my daughter with her first buck. That was a 5-minute hunt. It was during the youth season. I took my son out that morning, and then I seen a couple bucks head to an area, and I said, let's go out to this other location this afternoon, maybe we can get out one of those. Because wouldn't it be funny if we did like a 5-minute hunt? I said, that'd be hilarious. So we got out the stand and raised the bow, got it, the crossbow, got it cocked for her, got the bolt in it. And I said, are you ready? She goes, yeah. And she goes, Dad, is that a deer? Sure is, 30 yards away, standing on the edge of the cornice, and it's a buck. And so I said, take aim. And she was able to harvest that in 5 minutes. I said, that'll probably never happen again. But it's that easy when it does. There's one at Dalton's Bigger Bucks there at 6 Point. That was a fun night. We went out, and October 25th is always my favorite day. So if you ever go to Michigan to hunt, October 25th, I tell everybody, get in the stand because deer are moving. We seen 8 bucks that night, and Dalton was able to harvest that one. And then that's another one on the other side that he shot with his compound. So this was another time, like I said, family portraits. That's kind of how we roll as a family. We gather around and celebrate the hunt, celebrate the memories. And then there's me and Dalton. I took him down to Kentucky for his first out-of-state hunt. And that was a great time. He got an opportunity a lot of times, but we weren't quite successful because buck fever sometimes gets the better of you, and that's what happened on that one. And of course, you've seen that on the highlight video. That's my first pronghorn hunt out in Montana. One of my favorite hunts. It gave me a passion to want to go out west way more of. I wish I had more opportunities to, but the funds, you know, it is expensive. But if you ever get an opportunity to go out there and chase one of those speedgoats, it is a blast. And of course, with the TV show and starting that, we're always filming and chasing the bigger bucks. And so I live in Michigan, and most of these deer that you see are Michigan bucks. We don't grow them real big up there, but they're decent. I don't know if they compare to the Florida deer or not. I mean, I hear Christopher talking all the time about these giant Florida bucks that he sees, and so I might have to come down here sometime and check it out. But no, ours are corn fed up there, so I've been very blessed with harvesting some really nice ones over the years. And let's see, that is my biggest buck to date on the left of the bow. And my first Pope and Young that I shot during gun season that year, that was in 2009. That is kind of what started trying to chase some of the bigger deer, and that passion I had for filming. That buck right there was a wonderful memory. I'll never forget either when my father-in-law, he actually missed that buck the day before, and I was very thankful for that when it came to me the next day. So you know, great times. And if you're in the archer community, 3D archers, that is a buck I call the Condy buck. That is a buck I was pursuing that year as one of the largest 8 points that we had on our property, and dedicated it to a good friend of mine, Connie Clifton, who passed away of cancer. And so spent the year chasing that deer. That one's actually out in Canada. My wife, I talked her into going bear hunting with me, and she will never bear hunt again. Apparently she don't like hunting something that can eat you back. So, but we had a great time, and Canada started a passion of going up there chasing black bear. I really enjoy it. I'm actually wanting to get back up there and do it again one of these days. And let's see, what do we got going on next? Obviously, we love to fish. Is there any fishermen in here? All right, now, bass fishing, brim, I mean, what do y'all fish for around here the most? All of them? Is there anything that's biting? That's kind of me too. This is out of Lake Michigan, up by me, and so they got big king salmon. They will give you an arm workout. That is about a fish that took me about an hour to bring in, and when the next one hit, I gave it to my brother, and he got the biggest one of the day because my arms were too worn out to reel in another one for a moment. So that was my first Canadian black bear. Funny story of that, never bear hunted before. I was a rookie up there, got a guide, and the first day I didn't see a bear. And he goes, well, maybe they winded you. Well, I had a sponsor at the time that had this syrup stuff that was supposed to be like a deer attractor, but we were going to see, hey, maybe bears will like this. It smell like gummy bears. And so they were putting out the bait, and I'm like, well, if they winded me, maybe they smelt my tracks going in. So I had this bright idea of covering our boots, you know, with a syrup to cover our scent going in. And of course, I've never bear hunted before, and the guy's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm covering my scent going in. Ain't that kind of, you know, good thing to do? He goes, if you want the bear to stand with you, he goes, they're going to smell. I'm like, oh, man, I didn't really think of that one. Well, it's too late, so let's see what goes on. And so I go out there and I get in the stand, and my nephew's running camera for me. We're filming for the show at the time, and I'm sitting there, and of course, one of those long hunts. I start dozing off. My nephew dozes off. Something just told me I better wake up. I open my eyes, and at 10 yards, that bear is sniffing up in the air. I'm like, oh Lord, it's going to climb up here and eat us, isn't it? And my bow's hanging up, and I don't dare reach for it because he's looking right at me. And so I'm praying, just turn around, just face the bait barrel, not us. And it turned for a split second. I jumped up, grabbed my bow, got my release on. I said, all right, now I'm ready. And thankfully I harvested it before it got me. So that was my first bear experience. The following year, I went up to Canada and was blessed with this 400-pound black bear. That is actually the hunt that God's Country TV was formed. We were filming, we were having fun in the outdoors. I was speaking at wild game dinners and had this bright idea of, hey, let's start a TV show, you know. And I filmed for another TV show prior for a little bit, and so I wanted to have one of my own that was more of an outreach hunting show to share the gospel through our hunts. And I went up to Canada with my wife. That was when she took her first bear, and that night was the third night of the hunt. I hadn't hunted yet because I was going to film my wife until she got hers first. You know, being the husband that I am, I wanted her to be successful before me. Well, 2 days into the hunt, we ain't got anything. It's day 3, and we're on a 7-day hunt. I'm like, oh Lord. I said, hopefully she gets one soon. And my buddy had just tagged out the night before. And he goes, Nick, he goes, I know you want to get out hunting. Would you like it if I filmed Amanda tonight so you can actually go hunting? I said, absolutely, that'd be awesome. And so I went hunting, and again, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, that head popped out on me. Didn't have syrup on my boots that time, but we harvested a giant bear. And that was one of the ones you see me dragging out. So as we were filming for the show on that, I said, hey guys, let me show how strong I am now, hauling this 400-pound bear out. And so for about 5 seconds of trying, I finally got it to move. They filmed it, and I said, all right, cut it, and then I let somebody else drag it out the rest of the way. I'm not that strong, but for 5 seconds I was. That was such a fun hunt. When we found the bear the next day, we had to let it lay overnight. Man, I tell you what, Canada is a whole new world. Because they got other things that can hunt you back besides bear. They got a very high wolf population out there. And as we're walking and tracking the bear, and we finally come up to it, the guy's like, wow, this is a big bear. And I said, yeah. And he goes, all right, I'm going to go get some help to get it out of here. I'm leaving you my rifle just in case. And it's me and my buddy Greg. I said, in case of what? And he leaves. All right, I'm sitting here waiting until he gets back now. And then a wolf lights up. And then another wolf lights up. And another wolf lights up. And I quickly realized we are surrounded by a pack of wolves. And I got blood all over, leading right to me. I'm just like, Greg grabs the rifle, so I'm with nothing. And I said, what am I going to do? I got a knife on me, so I had a knife. And then Greg had a knife, so I had a knife in my other hand. I'm going to go hand-to-hand combat with these wolves if they come in. And I had one bar on my cell phone, and I called my wife. I said, hey, I said, tell Ron when he gets back to camp to hurry up and get back here. We're surrounded by wolves. And so they hurried up and got back, and when he drove back to Peak Track, all the wolves dissipated. And that was an interesting moment that I will never forget. And I've been back to Canada bear hunting since. I don't know why, but that was a very fun time. And we went on from there, filming for TV for a few years until I had a little issue that put a damper on that. See, March 15th of 2018, after gathering some syrup for the day of maple syrup season, and I went over and visited with my parents because it was their anniversary. I'm sitting over there and realized something's not right. My face went down. And so now maybe I need to go get some rest. So I live right next door, went home, kicked my feet up in the lazy boy, and I'm laying there, and I got shooting pains going across my chest, up and down my arms. And so I told my daughter, I said, go get Mom. She was in the other room. She goes, you all right? You don't look so good. You're sweating. And I said, I'm in a fair amount of pain right now. And she goes, is it your hernia? I said, no. I said, it's not my hernia. I said, I think this is something else that's going on. I was fighting a hernia. And I said, I might have to go get checked out. I think I lost my mic. Sorry. Did I bump something? Or my battery?
Back up here.
You got a back there. All right.
Battery.
All right. So sorry about that. So I went and got checked out, and since we live right next door to my mom and dad, I had them run me in because the boys were sleeping. I didn't want to wake them up. And I got to the hospital, and my blood pressure was 268 over 186. It was a little high. My pulse was down to 30 and fading. And then the ER doctor said, Mr. Harp, we can't handle you here. We got to ship you to a bigger hospital. And I said, why? They said, your heart's failing right now. You're dying. And that was a pretty emotional moment in my life. See, I was born with a rare birth defect. I didn't know I had. It's called bicuspid aortic valve disease. And basically, my whole life, my heart was overworking itself. And I didn't know it. Most people that have this hit about mid-30s and drop dead. For me to have a warning sign, the doctor said was a miracle. And so they rushed me to a bigger hospital, and they put in a pacemaker, and they said, Nick, you have this disease going on. You have an aneurysm in your heart as well. We don't need to do full open heart surgery right now, but you've lost all the electrical system in your heart, so this pacemaker is going to keep you going. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We're going to have to open you up and do some more extensive work. And so that was a trying time, and the TV show got put on hold. I had to focus on getting back to trying to live. And so I got out of the hospital, and I healed up. A few months later, I got this burning desire to get back into competitive archery. And so my wife thought I was crazy for doing so because I hadn't competed in about 15 years. And I didn't know why, but I felt I needed to go back. And so she goes, all right, I'll go along for the ride. And I shot a qualifier, got qualified for the Worlds, went back. And this is in August of 2018. I got reunited with a pastor friend of mine that actually changed my life. And I rededicated my life to Christ at an archery tournament in 2001 at the World Championships. And that's the pastor right there. So I was able to get reconnected with him after 15 years. And so he means so much to me. He's actually the one that instilled in me wanting that outreach hunting show because of how he reached me for the Lord through sharing archery and the gospel. And he made an offer to me that weekend. See, he is battling MS. And so his body was shutting down and he can no longer do the circuit. And he told me, Nick, he goes, first he asked me to do a testimonial that Sunday, and I said, absolutely. And then he goes, I got a bigger question for you. He goes, God spoke to me 3 years ago that you were to be my replacement. I just been waiting for you to come back. At that moment, I realized I got that burning desire to get back into competition. And so I accepted the position and took over as the pastor for the ASA. And Wally had a wonderful ministry for many, many years, traveling the circuit, and blessed so many people. And he always shared with me his dream hunt was a buffalo hunt. He wanted to kill the biggest North American big game animal that you could get. And so when he shared that with me, he goes, that'll never happen. And I started praying about it. I said, Lord, let's make this happen. So I reached out to a bunch of the archery community that he meant so much to, and everybody chipped in, and we found an awesome spot out in Montana that they had one of those action track wheelchairs to get him out there, and he was able to harvest a buffalo. And I was able to be there with him, so that was a very, very special hunt. And I've been blessed with doing the ministry ever since. We kicked it off with God's Country Outdoor Ministries in 2019. That hunt out in Montana made me want to go back out hunting and fulfill a dream of mine, was to chase elk. And my wife, I went out to Montana a few different times, and she always said, you've never taken me out west. And the kids had never seen it. And I said, all right. I said, I got the opportunity to go elk hunting in Colorado and have truck camp at 9,600 feet. And I said, do you want to go on vacation? I said, all right. So I brought my whole entire family out elk hunting in Colorado. Now, I don't know if that was quite her version of wanting to go out west, But it was a very special time. So there's truck camp, 9,600 feet. They had a beautiful lake, beautiful mountains. Jacob caught a trout out there because he loves to fish over hunt. And so I was able to take the boys out. We were able to get out in God's country in a way like they'd never seen before. So when I was hunting close to camp, trying to get acclimated at 9,600 feet, I take the boys with me. And then after a few days, I decided, hey, I could venture further and further. And so I started climbing. I had this goal to get up over 10,000 feet. My doctor, when I told him I was going to go out there and do this, he goes, you do realize you have a heart condition, right? I said, I know, we all do. Some physical, some spiritual. But I said, Doc, I said, well, I live once, I got to go out there and have some fun. And so, against his wishes, I went out there and started chasing elk around. And I started pushing myself further and further, more than what I thought I could do. I started getting into some pretty rugged territory, and I finally climbed to the top of the mountain right there and see one of the most beautiful paintings that God has ever put out there. I realized as I was going further and further, there were some challenges, and I hit some terrain that I pushed, and the only way I could get through it is I kept remembering my favorite verse, Philippians 4:13, for I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, because I had to do a lot of praying out there. I said, Lord, help me get through this. And on the last day of the hunt, nobody wanted to go out. After 11 days, everybody was burned out. And of course, I'm like, I go out, it's the last day. Nobody's brought in an elk yet. We got to get this done. So I said, I'm going by myself. And I climbed back up to the top of that ridge by myself that morning without anybody with me. Except for the Lord. And it's a good thing he was. But I sat out there and I said, I did it, Lord. You blessed me with climbing up here again and give me this beautiful painting. And I watched the sun come up, and it was just the most amazing experience. And I got my elk call out, and I'm calling. And next thing you know, here comes a cow elk. And my take is good for a cow or bull, and it's the last day. I'm like, I'm a professional archer. If I seen an elk, I was pretty confident that I could kill it no matter what the distance was. It was 70 yards. I'm like, that's a chip shot for me. This bow's down at 150. And so, one thing I didn't realize about elk, though, they're a lot faster than I give them credit for. So as this trotted across my lane and I stopped and put it on alert, I pulled back in full draw and I let that arrow fly, and it ducked and its belly hit the ground, and my arrow sailed right over her back. That was a humbling experience. I said, all right. It brought a little reality check to me. But I thank the Lord for the opportunity to be able to enjoy God's creation out there, to see all this beauty. And so as I go check for my arrow and I start looking around for elk sign, and I get back into some of this rough area, I realize that my compass was wrong. Or maybe I should have paid attention to it. So you need to follow your compass in life, because you can get deterred very easily when you get into the dark timber. Now I was advised by everybody in camp that have been there, don't go in the dark timber, because it's easy to get turned around. Well, I didn't listen. I got on some tracks for elk, and I started looking at some sign that was great that I wish I would have seen day one. And I'm still in kind of hunting mode. I took my eyes off the path, I took my eyes off the compass. The next thing you know, I come down the wrong side of the mountain. I didn't know where I was. And I'm getting dehydrated. I ran out of water at this point. I had no food at this point. And I started climbing and going up another mountain. When I finally figured out on my compass which direction I had to go, I'm looking, I'm like, uh-oh. There's like this mountain to climb and this mountain to climb. And I got down in the valley, the little stream I crossed on the way up that morning. There wasn't a little stream on the other side of the mountain. There was a wide rapids that I had to jump rock to rock to get over. And I got on the other side of that and I climbed to the top of this mountain. And then I realized I had to go back down in another valley. And then I go through that and I climb to the top of another mountain. And then I had to go back down. At this point, I'm like, uh-oh. I said, well, Lord, you give me a beautiful place to die. Because I was pretty confident I wasn't going to make it out of there. So I started praying. Because that's the only thing you can do. You got to turn to God in all things. And I said, Lord, I need your help. I got nothing left in the tank. I have no energy left. I have no water. I'm dehydrated. And so I said, get me out of here, Lord. And as I'm looking through the trees and I'm praying, something started glistening at me. And I seen the roof of a house, log cabin. So I set my sights on that and I focused. And I kept my eyes on that cabin to give me an aiming point. And I made it all the way to it, found the road, found where I was, and got back to truck camp. See, so often we get distracted in life and we have a compass that can point us in the right direction. The Word of God, when you put all your trust in Him, doesn't leave you. So, in life, we need to use this as our compass to guide us through every day. And that's what got me through that moment in Colorado and gave me a story to tell of what God carried me through. And I was able to tell the doctor, hey, Doc, I got through it, even though he advised me not to. And I went on to chase and harvest some beautiful deer after that and continued on. And then last year, I was getting ready for the first tournament of the year, and another snag happened. They told me in 2018 it was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And as I'm getting ready to head down to Foley, Alabama, I started having some issues at a wild game dinner I was speaking at. I went to the ER the next day. My heart failure numbers had doubled. A month prior to that, the surgeon told me, Nick, you need surgery. I was trying to push it off until after tournament season. And then I found myself in the ER where I couldn't push it off. I told the doc, I said, hey, I got to be down in Alabama. This is what we do for a living. And he goes, Nick, you ain't going anywhere. Your heart's getting ready to blow up. My aneurysm had grown double in size in the last 6 months. My heart failure numbers doubled in the last 2 weeks. And I said, we got to open you up. We got to take care of this. So March 30th, last year, they opened me up, removed part of my heart, clamped off an aneurysm, put in a mechanical valve, and rewrapped my aortic root on a pretty major surgery. The surgeon told me prior to this, Nick, you're going to spend 3 days in the ICU. You're going to spend 2 weeks in the heart wing. I said, when can I get back to preaching again, Doc? I said, this is our livelihood. He goes, when's your next event? I said, in 3.5 weeks. And he goes, you ain't going to feel like preaching in 3.5 weeks. You're going to feel like you got hit by a Mack truck for a long time. He goes, I'm just going to be honest with you. And I said, all right. I said, well, it's in God's time. He goes, Nick, your archery's probably not going to happen for a long time. I'm just trying to be blunt with you. It's probably going to be a while before you can shoot a bow again. I said, all right, Doc. I said, I want you to know one thing. I said, I serve a pretty big God, and everything's in His timing. So, surgery was a success, because I'm still here. And instead of 3 days in ICU, the next morning, they asked, can you stand up? I said, yes. Another time I had to rely on the Lord and remember my favorite verse. I said, God, give me the strength. And I stood up. They said, can you take a few steps? I said, yes. The moment I stood up, all the pain left my body. It was the most wonderful experience I've ever had. I felt the hand of God on me, guiding me. And I started walking laps around the ICU wing. And the doctors were floored. They said, this is crazy. You should be able to do this soon. I said, I told you I serve a pretty big God. Less than 24 hours later, I was moved to the heart wing. They said, you're doing too good for ICU. We're going to bump you to the heart wing. I said, all right. So I get moved to the heart wing, and the nurses start coming in, and they're like, we had to come in and see you. We heard rumors about you. I said, oh yeah, what's that? And they said, well, a heart patient that's self-sufficient is unheard of. I said, well, like I told the surgeon and all the doctors, I said, I serve a big God. I said, it's all him. 5 days later, I was released from the hospital to go home. Not 2.5 weeks, but 5 days. I asked the doctor, what can I do? And he said, you can walk, don't lift anything, and don't even think about touching that bow. I said, all right, doc, but I'm ready to go back and preach. I was feeling so good. Day 6, I'm sitting at home, I'm bored. I'm feeling good. I know I'm healed. I know God's taking care of it all. And so I went for a walk. I walked 5 miles that morning. I come home and meet with a visiting nurse, and I answer the door, and she goes, you're Nick? And I said, yeah. She goes, you just had surgery when? I said, Thursday. She was like, in this past Thursday? I said, yeah. And she goes, you're looking pretty good. I said, well, I was told that, you know. Not just by my wife. And she goes, I think you're ready for cardiac rehab. I said, oh, okay. I said, what will they do there? And she goes, well, they'll get you up walking. I'm thinking, walking, okay, I've been doing that. But I said, how much? And they said, oh, probably 10 minutes day one. We don't want to overdo it. I said, well, I did 5 miles this morning. She goes, you did what? I said, well, doctor told me I could walk, so I went for a walk. She goes, yeah, you don't need cardiac rehab. I think you're good. I said, I'm healed. That's her with that God. I went back to the doctor for my checkup 5 weeks later. He lifted all restrictions. 5 weeks later, after a major open heart surgery, I was back on the range competing. There I am standing on the podium. I was climbing the mountains of West Virginia. And I was hitting my mark back on the range. Not because of my skill, but because of God, who loved me so much. He blessed me with healing up quickly so I could share how big he is with y'all today. And so I was back to preaching. 3.5 weeks later, I went out to Louisiana. The doctors still don't know about that one. It was before my checkup. We snuck out there. 5 weeks I was climbing the mountains of West Virginia shooting and sharing the gospel. And then I was back in the stand hunting. And I said I was going to take the first decent buck I seen this year because I wasn't supposed to be here. The Lord blessed me with that. After my youngest son, Dalton, missed it, he ran over to me. And so I was blessed with that nice 8-point. I said, Dalton, I owe you one. And after I was able to harvest that beautiful buck, I said, all right, Michigan, you got 2 buck tags. Let's start going after something bigger. And as me and my youngest son, Jake, was fishing, my trail camera goes off and this guy comes in. And that's why I told Jacob, I said, see, Jake, this is why we don't fish during the rut. Didn't have a lot of history with this buck, but he was one of the biggest ones we've seen out of the property, so we started calling him the king. And I had a couple trail cam pictures of him. I had a picture of him that night. And so I kind of had an idea of where he was going around. I said, you know, I'm going to go after the king. And so we started pursuing him. And I went out there after that trail cam picture right there, and I said, I know exactly where I need to go in the morning to harvest that buck. And so I put Dalton in my number 2 location because I had to drop him off at the stand in the morning, and he wasn't going to be able to get to number 1 without pumping everything. It was too hard to find in the dark. And I put a couple other people out there. And then I went to my number 1 spot where I knew that king was going to be, and I was so confident that I was going to harvest that buck that morning. My bow was in my hand from the moment we got shooting hours, and I was ready. And anybody that knows me knows I love my coffee. Most of the time I got a cup of it when I'm preaching. And my cup of coffee was sitting right there, and I was like, I need a sip of coffee right now. So I hang my bow up. I actually had it on a hanger that was right off to the side of me. And I take a sip of coffee, and next thing I know, I hear, brah. Like, ooh, I wonder what buck that was. See, I already knew what buck it was. And I should have grabbed my bow immediately. But instead, I'm like, I let curiosity get me. I want to see it first. And out pops the king at 17 yards. I knew it. I just knew it. It's like, keys and I grabbed my bow. It's not this pretty bow like I got here, this one's for tournaments. But I grabbed that bow and I'm raising it up over to me. And I'm staring at this block of 17 yards, and the edge of my bow just goes just real light against the edge of the stand. Enough where he turned and looked right at me. Ignore that. Just go about your business, you know. And he just knew something wasn't right. And I got my bow ready, and I'm just waiting. I said, just please, Lord, just let him turn. And he turned, and as he turned, I drew back on him. I put the pin on him at 17 yards, and there's these few branches in the way. I said, oh, I can thread the needle. I'm that pro archer. I said, but it has cost me in the past too, so I better not. So I let down, and he walks off. And I said, oh my goodness. I said, I just blew it on one of the best bucks I've seen out here in years. And so I got kind of disappointed, and I grabbed my cell phone. I called my buddy Matt, that hunts out there with me. I said, Matt, I said, you wouldn't believe this. I blew it on the king. I'm kind of crying to him on the phone, you know, woe is me. And as I'm talking to him, I looked behind me. He had circled back around, and he's standing right behind me. I said, oh, man, gotta let you go now. Set my phone down. I grabbed my bow again. I'm like, oh, you were so mine. Thank you, Lord. And there's one tree in the way. I said, I just take 2 more steps, and he stopped. He would not take those steps, and instead he starts walking across the bean field and going away from me. And I grunt at him. He stopped, he looked around. And I grunt at him again, trying aggressively, and he laid his ears back and he went charging in the wrong direction. I'm like, I'm over here. I'm over here. So I watched him walk away, and I started realizing, I'm like, oh. I said, he's going across to the woods where I dropped Dalton off. So I called up Dalton. I said, Dalton. I said, get ready, the king's coming. The king's coming. Get your bow up and just be ready. And then I hung up with him. And I called my wife. I said, honey, I said, look out the back bedroom window. I said, the king's walking across the bean field over to Dalton right now, so she got to witness it. And 5 minutes later, my phone's blowing up. And it's Dalton on the line. And the king hit the ground. See, that buck wasn't meant for me that morning. It was meant for my son. And it meant so much more to me watching my son harvest his biggest buck of his life. God's plans are so much better than ours. And so I got to witness that, and we had a joyous family time. So we celebrated with Dalton harvesting the king. And as cool as that memory is, and will always be, and always be etched in, I want you to know there's another king that we need to pursue. And that's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. All these moments that God has given me up on a podium, or with a pulping on deer or bear, none of that matters if I didn't have Jesus. That's when I got my true podium finish, the moment I invited him in. And if you're here today and don't have that personal relationship with Jesus, I encourage you, don't wait. Don't let a heart failure or an accident that can happen send you to the pits of hell. See, unfortunately, there's a very real place called hell. And for those of us that don't have that personal relationship with Christ, that's where we're condemned to. But it's a free gift. Nothing hard you got to do. All you got to do is invite him into your life and into your heart. It'll be the greatest gift you've ever received. You'll have that podium finish in life. So before we leave here, I'd like to close in prayer. Before we go get these wonderful prizes next door, I want to make sure that you get the prize that means more than anything. So, if you would, bow your heads with me. I want you to search your heart right now. And if you don't have that personal relationship with Christ, please just pick that free gift that he's offered to you. And just say this prayer with me. Dear Jesus, I know that I'm a sinner. And I believe that you died on the cross for me, for my sins. And rose again 3 days later for my salvation. Lord, I invite you into my heart to be the Lord over my life and save me from my sins. In your precious name, Jesus, I ask this. Amen. Now, if you just said that prayer, you invited Christ in, you got your totally finished in life. Thank you all for having me come speak here. It's been a pleasure. Y'all are awesome cooks, awesome hosts, and Lord willing, to invite me back sometime.